6 o'clock, call the meeting to order. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October 10th, 2023's regular select board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in the second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. All right, we have a little bit different environment tonight because Connie is not here. So what we're going to do is anybody that needs to address the board needs to stand up, give their name and what they're here about. It's just easier for her to figure out their position and who's talking, okay? And if there's a dual talking situation, then somebody will be stopped. And we're just gonna have to take it methodically so that she can take the notes. All right, no additions or deletions. There's members of the public. Charlie and I just went blank.
Lee.
Lee. Well, I'm going to put you on that slot first. So what's up?
Stand up.
Yeah, please.
Charlie Marchant, President of the Townshend Historical Society. We're just here to answer any questions regarding old business 8A.
Okay. The last meeting, there was some questions about budget and fundings and, oh yeah, it was about the Stone Arch Bridge. Do those questions persist?
Yes. One of the questions I had was,
Are we going to old business or are we?
Yeah, we're taking members of the public, which you are. Go
did
ahead.
you have a different way you wanted it, or different avenue? I had just a couple questions about things. With the overall price, it would be nice to have it be a turnkey situation, and that way the town highway department isn't adopting any sort of projects occurring from doing the bridge. So I think they're supposed to do some drainage, they're supposed to do some other stuff. It would be nice that if it was all one package, and when contractors are done, it's done. And that way that the town road crew doesn't have any one like liability as far as isn't there a pipe that is supposed to be put in for stormwater runoff and some other stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
What I'm trying to understand is, first of all, from the very beginning of this project, the rebuilding of the road and the parapets and the drainage were not part of the bridge restoration bid. They were the responsibility of the town. My understanding of the way the bid has been presented is there's been a suggestion that while this is being dug up and processed, that the drainage be installed at that time so it doesn't have to be dug up a second time. Which makes sense to me. I didn't understand when the drainage issue was brought up that they were talking about catch basins. I thought they were originally talking about water bars. But the catch basin concept seems to make more sense. But that aspect, if it's approved, is not part of the restoration project of the bridge. It's not part of the fundraising that the Historical Society's been doing. It's not part of the money that was voted by the townspeople in the separate articles for the bridge. So, in one of the conversations I had with Connie is I said, if this is all going to be done at once, which makes sense, then with the next budget process of the town, they need to include that as part of their highway budget. it doesn't mean the highway department would do anything, but the planning for it would come from the town. There is some discussion about what the parapets would look like, which I think that can be pretty easily resolved. The issue that was brought up in the bid, and I think Lee will correct me if I'm wrong, is the parapets have to be anchored in some way, and it would make sense to have that anchoring system put in while they're doing the work, so that you don't have to tear something apart to redo it. In terms of things like the paving, we don't do anything with that. That road needs to be paved from Route 30 up to Bissonette's house. It's a mess. So the town should consider that as a potential paving project at some point when the restoration work is done.
Lee.
May I also add something? Lee Petty, representing the Project Steering Committee from the Townshend Historical Society. At the beginning of the project, before we could be approved for the National Park Service Save America's Treasure Grant funding, which is a large share of the money that's going to pay for the restoration, the town of Townshend was required to write, the select board was required to write a letter to a head person in the Park Service stating that they fully supported the project as proposed. And the proposal that was proposed, and Charlie has reviewed with you many times over the course of the last 3 years, did not include the paving, the drainage, or the grading.
Parapets.
So in a sense, that letter already approved it. And this is a moot discussion.
All of my, I'm not opposed to doing any, to having the bridge done in the contract that you brought forward. I'm not opposed to that. What I'm saying is that when it comes to the other things that are associated with it, and not just the paving, but the drainage part, and the other part, the parapets and where they're gonna be, and then the railings put together with them, and that type of stuff, that's an open-ended part of what is it gonna cost us. And then if our town crew takes and puts in the drainage, what's the liability if anything goes on with anything, as far as if things fail, all of a sudden we're on the hook because we put the drainage in. And I'm just bringing up the point that if we had a turnkey, as soon as it's done and the contractors are signed off, the town is like, boom, we're ready to go, we maintain it, we pave it, we do whatever needs to be done. It would be that would be nice to see it followed all the way through, as far as we're not getting into, okay, we gotta do railings as a town, okay, we gotta do drainage as a town. I mean, we know we gotta pave, and it's like, we're not expecting that 60 feet of bridge to be paved the whole entire way.
Well, the paving would be required, it's part of the grading.
Well, yes,
though,
no,
so
the
the water
paving,
flows
so what my
differently
point
to the
is the paving part, it's like if we hire somebody to pave, they pave, and they're on, if we get things curved just right, we can have it go right into the catch basins and it'll be good. But what I'm saying is if we're responsible for the catch basins and all the other things to put them in, we're kind of on the hook for a lot of things, and it's an open-ended part. Open-ended price. I mean, we don't know. All I'm saying is it'd be nice to see what it would cost for the other stuff to be done, and not just, that's up to the town to get it done.
Well, my response to that is, since this is not new information, that it is your responsibility and you need to do it. We're not doing it.
Okay.
And the highway department, however they do this sort of thing, culverts, catch basins, equipment, subcontractors, that's the process for doing that already exists. You guys do that sort of thing all the time. I think what's thrown a little bit of a wrench in this is the bid is proposing to install it during the process, which we hadn't thought about. But it makes sense, because if they complete all the work and then the town decides to follow that design, then it's gonna get dug up again to put the catch basins. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Is it gonna cost the town some money? It is, but that's not new news. That's been on the board since day one.
Lee Petty for the Historical Society. I also think that written into the proposal, the bidder has suggested some sort of cooperation, particularly with the town, on figuring out the best way for them to insert whatever base work is needed for the parapets, the walls. And, you know, that part, I think, the consultation of where and how to do it the best way and what kind of a parapet would be best is written into this proposal, the discussion of it, the advice. We've retained the engineer. So, you know, it's the basic road responsibilities that were not included in the restoration grant.
Another piece that came up last week, I feel, was the discussion around the cost of labor, given the expertise of the individuals that are contracted. Can you guys speak any more to that?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, there was just discussion around how the proposal included a high percentage of the cost going towards, not towards materials or the actual labor, but this. Lee, can you speak?
I have one comment, and then you can say, because I was here at the last meeting and this was never said. The ratio between the cost of labor and the materials is rather unique here, because the Secretary of Interior, who preservation standards, requires that as much of the stonework of the bridge that can be efficiently used has to be used. So we're not buying a lot reused. It has to be put back in to make it historically correct. All right, so that isn't going to be a huge budget unless, as the bricks are being removed, they crumble. And with the kind of rock it is, I understand that that's not expected. Some will have to be replaced, but not all. And one of the things that contributes so much to the cost of labor is the removing of once the road surface is removed carefully so as not to disturb the arch, the removal of the infill, even that material is saved.
I see.
All right, and so
That's helpful, thank you.
the National Park Service requires that as they remove the stones, they photograph or diagram each one, number them, set them on a pallet, which is why they'd love to be able to find some nearby storage if that ever becomes possible, rather than having to truck these numbered stones all the way to the thing. That's why he's asking a lot about that. So they all have to be numbered, and then as much as is structurally possible, they have to be returned, at least on the outer surfaces, to the same place. So this is an exacting job. It isn't slapdash, it's not renovation. They're not gonna take out everything, take away all the stones, go to Vermont Marble or Vermont Granite or whoever you buy it from and get more of the stones and put it back in. They've got to reuse most, and that's why the costs are lower for materials.
Well, I think that was a question way back when it's, at least when I started hearing about this, is why weren't they considering using some of the stuff that was there? And I think you just answered that question. They do.
We must do that if we want that money.
And if I can kind of bolster what you're saying, the cost of similar projects are definitely over $1 million. And that's, I think, across the board. If you're buying new materials,
Could you tell me what similar projects to a stone arch bridge like that there are around?
Well, a preservation project is really unique, but other stone arch projects, there's one in Jaffrey, New Hampshire, $1.6 million. And a bridge twice as big in Peterborough, New Hampshire, $6.6 million. It's doing just some simple research. You can't really find a bridge build for under $1 million these days, is, kind of a layman's research.
So I guess what I'm hearing about this is it's not a huge issue. We need to make sure that we know what we're going to be paying for what the town's part of this is, outside that $250,000 that's already been allocated. So we need, some kind of cost for either somebody that can do this work for drainage. Paving's not an issue, although it'll be expensive as it's been lately. And what was the third one? We had drainage,
The railings.
the railings, and the paving. The railings have been part of some of these conversations for a while. At least I've heard from the side, and railings are not that big a deal. The big deal is the drainage, how it's going to be an environmental issue, if we're even going to get a permit to do that. So that kind of stuff needs to start like right away. Go ahead, Lee. Go ahead.
Part of my process as the grant administrator is to work in orchestrating the permitting process, and Steve, before he left, was 100% involved in helping us do that. The project will not start unless all of the boxes are checked off for environmental permitting, historical permitting, VAOT approval, Army Corps of Engineer approval. So the project won't start until I turn in all that stuff and they approve. So that goes without saying, and I think that's pretty much part of the project.
When FEMA was here for their initial meeting, we were discussing permitting and removing those stumps. And we got the strangest response from one of the historical people that were involved in that about historical stumps and historical stones. And because somebody somewhere found a skull in a stump, that made it historical and they could move it. So what he was saying is make sure you check and double check on something like
It has
this.
to be approved by the State Division for Historic Preservation, and we very fortunately have a member of that division on our steering committee.
Okay. Does anybody else have any further questions?
Not to belabor the railing conversation, are there specifications that the town has to meet in order to stay with the approved project? I'm wondering if we could do a more cost-effective railing, or if we have to do a specific style that maybe is more cost.
Has that bridge even had a railing on it, Charlie?
Well,
At any point in history, has it
there's
even
not
had
much
one?
left of it.
Let's just say that the current parapets that are concrete are not original.
Okay.
And it's been rebuilt a number of times. Not in the last 50 years or so, but there are photographs of earlier parapets that were open and not solid like they are now. What they're exactly made of, it's difficult to tell in the picture. But that has to be designed, and as Lee said, it has to be approved by the National Park Service and the Division of Historic Preservation. And we have some examples of what they might look like, but nothing's been written, quote, in stone on those. The issue that the bidders had brought up is that it makes sense to put the anchoring system in when they're doing this work. I don't think they're intending to put the parapets in. I suppose they could, but it's not part of their contract. That would have to be contracted with someone else. But I think their point is logically, it does make sense to have the anchoring system there. And I've been told that you cannot drill into the arch to anchor these. But they have ideas on how to do that. And I guess we have to trust them to know what they're talking about.
Well, I think that there's a lot of contact that has to be made. I don't know what Steve's situation is as far as continuing, but Jeremy's the new foreman. And I think we need to make sure that this dialogue stays open.
We're up to date with what we can do with the permitting so far. The only permit we're waiting for is from the Army Corps of Engineers, and they can't do it until the Park Service does it, till the state does it. It's one of those round on round, and they have to see, once and if you hire a contractor for the job, then the contractor will sit down with the town and work out a contract and fine tune the scope of work, dot all the i's and cross the t's, so it's written up in the town contract with him or her exactly what you expect. Then that goes back to the Park Service for approval, and then all the rest of these permits will fall into place. Pretty much he had the A&R guy there, we have a letter. I could have brought them, I could update you, probably not take time at this meeting. And I believe that Connie has updated Jeremy, but he's still wrapping his brain around this whole issue, so we have to give him a little time. But Steve did a fine job. We have almost all the letters we need. We're waiting to hear from the fisheries people. The Fish and Wildlife are signed off. The Indians are signed off. We have to make sure that we get a letter from fisheries saying that the fishery and individual special fish species aren't endangered. And then it's just the historical stuff that'll come when the hired contractor's final plan is approved. It's a pain in the neck, but for us, $221,000 is a lot of money. So I'm willing to ride herd on the bus and help Jeremy out. Steve paved the way for him to pick up and get going on this. And hopefully he would mentor him a little bit.
Okay, what is it that you need from us at this point in the process? Are you all set with what it is that you need?
Well, we need a vote of acceptance of the bid.
Okay.
That the town approves the bid, and then we can go forward. Time is of the essence because contractors are already putting in place dates for work. I've applied for a grant that can only, $20,000 from the state, that can only be spent in 2024. If we have to delay the project to 2025, then we start all over on that. We have some donors who are time sensitive. So we very much would like to have a contract done with the person who you hire to do the project by the end of this year. And so we're getting closer to the end of the year, and I presume that the writing of the contract and the discussion over the particulars is going to take some time. But the Park Service needs 3 months at least to go over all this and get back and complete the permitting before the process can start. So this bidder offered to start around May 1st. That means that we've got to get this stuff around the first of the year to the Park Service so they can have their time to approve it, and then we can get all the other permits in place and be ready to start the work. So we're kind of at the edge here. If this drags on, we're not going to be able to go forward with the project next year. We'll have to wait until 2025, and the National Park Service grant ends in September 30th of 2025. So all their money would have to be spent and accounted for by then, which would be very difficult to do if the project continues into the fall. So we're kind of at a crossroads. So the committee unanimously approved it. The Park Service gave its preliminary approval to the plan, which is really, really good. They don't generally do that. They are ecstatic with the qualifications of the bidder. people that do this work are hard to find, few and far between. So the committee recommended highly that you do accept the bid. That's all we can do. It's your turn to act.
Okay, is there any other questions?
Do you have anything else to say? Sorry.
Any other questions?
As far as, have you looked at the plan for putting in the drainage?
I have not. I don't even know if I have a copy anymore. So, like some info.
You might have a copy. Connie is really good at that. But we can certainly find another one, not to worry. I know you've been busy and you had a flood and a lot of things, but once Connie is back, she can find out a time when it would be good for you, and we'll sit down with you and try to do a quick read of that and so you can wrap your head around it. That's part of this deal, is working together to get this project done.
I'd make a motion to accept the Townshend Historical Society's bid from, I don't know the name of the place.
What's the company?
It's
So,
Standing Stone
Stone.
LLC in Chester.
From
Brian Post is the name.
From Standing Stone LLC. And that would be it.
Okay,
Second.
is there any further discussion?
Yes, I would like to not be in a situation where the town's held liable for any of the work that's done there. And
Do you mean liable
for,
insurance-wise?
no, as far as the drainage part and the railings and stuff like that, I would like to see the town, I'd like to see it be a turn, and this is, I'm just saying this from one person of a board of 5. I would like to see it be a turnkey project for the town. So Jeremy and those guys don't work on it, nobody else, you know, and it goes from there.
I think what he's trying to say is he doesn't want the town to be liable for any type of failure post completion.
See, we start applying pipes and drainage to it, and all of a sudden, the drain, if something happens, they're gonna say, well, it was a drainage problem. And then all of a sudden, it's on to us. And this is what I was saying to begin with, is that it's not a part of any of the project going on that I have any opposal to. I don't wanna pay a lot more than what we've already paid or raised for taxes. But what I don't wanna see is the town of Townshend down the line, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 75 years, whatever it is, for us to be held liable because we put a drainage pipe in and it wasn't, you know, it failed because, no, I'm just
It'll
saying.
probably happen.
Would the engineer that the Historical Society has hired and retained be able to discuss that with the town so that it's done properly?
Yeah, but
along the way.
it's not a part of whether it's done properly or not. It can be done properly and still fail. So if we have nothing to do with it and it's straight on a contractor with their own insurance and stuff, then we are held
Yes.
no liability.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, contract.
Charlie Marchant, I think you have to review what you've already agreed to, in that you signed the easement to be responsible for the maintenance of this restoration for 10 years. And you already agreed to do
Yeah,
that.
but it's not, I'm not saying a part of maintenance. I'm saying, like, what happens if there's just a structural fail?
I'm not an engineer, and I'm not qualified to answer that question. I mean,
I'm looking on the liability of the town part. I'm not looking to say that you're an engineer or not an engineer, or that I am, or any of that. I'm just saying.
since those 3 things have always been the responsibility of the town, I would suggest the town consult its own advice on what happens if. I'm not gonna do it.
Well, we are getting ready to vote, and
Yeah.
there was one last comment, and that was my last comment, and
understand.
now we'll vote.
Well, I understand, and it's been mentioned that we retained Marble Valley Engineering to help with us, obviously on a fee basis for something where they're gonna do any design work. But I would expect if they did enter into some agreement with us to design something like that, then the financial responsibility of that would be on the town, because it would be part of the drainage. I'm guessing, and I guess you'd have to talk with Brian, they were the ones that proposed that this be done all at once to avoid redoing stuff that they had already done, which made perfect sense to me. Maybe they can explain how that would work. I'm guessing if they proposed it, they might be able to install it. I'm not familiar with, I didn't even know what a catch basin was until I looked at the diagrams and then figured out, wow, yeah, that makes sense. My idea of the drainage up there was to have 5-foot-high water bars that would slow people down when they went across the bridge, and then the water was directed off. I'm being facetious, obviously, but I envisioned some sort of water bars. I was told that that's not a good idea because that's going to direct water onto somebody's property. And if it was done intentionally, then there'd be that issue. So when I saw the catch basin idea, it made a lot more sense. I've never, for a moment, thought that the town would actually install them. They would secure appropriate people to design them and obviously budget for them, but it would be the town's job to maintain them after they were installed. If they fill up with debris, they'd have to, I would imagine catch basins have to be pumped out. I don't know the proper, I've gone and looked at a couple of them since this was proposed, and they didn't have anything in them, they were empty. So I didn't get to see any sticks or brush or sand or gravel inside, but I imagine that would happen. But it'd be no different than pumping out the drains that are, along, that just got redone along Route 35 here. They have to be cleaned out once in a while. I imagine you lift the top off and clean them out, but I'm not the guy to do that. I guess I'm giving you the news. So to speak.
No, like,
All right, last call for any further comment or questions. Okay. We have a motion on the floor and it's been seconded. Calling for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 5-0. We're,
Good job, guys.
I'm sure we'll be dealing with other things as we move along, but there's no sense we can't start the process.
I had one question that came up the other day. A person at Pumpkin Festival, a delivery person for a company that makes regular deliveries, wanted to know when the project was going to begin, and I told them, and they wanted to be able to inform their company that there would be certain delays because of having to go around if the bridge was closed. So I just, as time goes on, we need to think about how we're going to address that issue of things like delivery trucks and things of that sort.
We're talking a 3-month, basically right now, 3-month bill.
Proposed,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna guess if once you add in the paving and so forth, it's gonna be more than 3 months. Because they can't do the paving till the whole thing's done. I'm guessing, but I guess you need to, solidify that with the bidder, see what they think.
Okay. Anything, you have
Hey,
anything?
Eddie, I just want to add one thing. I think your questions, which are really relevant, the things that Charlie is mentioning, are part of the discussion now that you've agreed to hire the contractor. I think the contractors may, I can't point to exactly where in the bid or whether he said this. I think they might be willing to do the installation of the drainage. It's not already included in the contract, so part of the discussion would be, well, would they charge any extra? You know, and there's room for negotiation for some of these issues in the contract.
Part of my point is I would just, like, the basin, the catch basin is one thing, but if there's all this piping going through all this stonework and everything else, then I don't think that we want to be part of that.
Be petty. I would recommend you not have a lot of angst over this until,
Don't.
and hopefully perhaps you would represent the select board at the first meeting with the contractor.
I can do that.
And tell them the same questions you've told us, because we really aren't in a position to answer them. You know, he's given you the contract, he's given you a contingency, perhaps you can come up with a little additional to pay him while he's in there to do these things. But I think that's your discussion with the contractor in talking over and setting the contract itself. And I think that, like with the parapets, anything's possible. You know, he can tell you more about what's got to be done, and you can come to decisions as the negotiating process for the contract goes on, as I understand it. But I think those questions will be answered. I can't answer them. I don't think Charlie can either.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
This is the end of a long process and the beginning of an even longer one. We can't thank you enough for cooperating, for giving your time to study this issue, for making a project that started in 2018, hopefully come to reality in 2024. Connie has been wonderful working with us. Katie on the select board being the interim one, and Steve before did a lot of work, and hopefully we'll have a meeting with you soon when you have a break in your schedule to kind of bring you on board.
That'll probably be
Catch you
5
up.
years.
Pardon me?
I said that'll probably be 5 years.
Well, maybe Charlie and I will have to come on the job with him and coffee break time. We aim to please, we're retired, we can be flexible, but thank you, we really appreciate it.
Okay. Do we have anybody else, members of the public, that have an issue? Oh, come on. Hi, Laura. What's up?
Okay, Laura Richardson, two things. Number one, I wanted to thank you all for settling the common issue. I don't know how you did it or what happened, but it's really a relief to know that finally there's clarity about the common belongs to the town. That's been something that's been being thrown back and forth for I don't even know how long.
220 years.
So anyway, thank you for getting that done. That's great. And the second thing is about the policy. So if you're going to have discussion about the policy later, I could wait on that. And
No, it's not, we're not going to be doing it today.
Oh, you're not doing the
No.
policy today? Well, I can still wait on it then, right? Until you're ready to do the, okay. Well, in that case, that was it. You see what, wasn't that?
I think that you could turn around and say thank you to John, because I think he had quite a bit of movement in it.
For the common thing?
Mr. Evans.
Thank you, John. Needed doing.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to warrants. Oh, wait a minute, one more thing and I'll get this out of the way. There was a email sent from Cory Ciklin or whatever.
Ciklin.
Ciklin. You can read it at your leisure. It's
That's not going to be allowed.
no. Let's see, warrants. Go ahead, Katie.
I'd like to make a motion to pay the warrants. Number one, payroll in the amount of $11,565.30. Number two, payroll taxes in the amount of $5,065.21. Number three, general fund in the amount of $13,024.43.
No
General
idea.
fund. Number five, highway in the amount of $6,098.24. Number six, highway equipment in the amount of $17,615.44 for a total of $53,368.62.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. We have highway report. Jeremy, what's been happening this week?
We've been doing the road grading, trying to get ready for winter, leaf blowing. Was able to get a couple culverts in the ground this week, till the rain. I was hoping to get more in this week, but I'm gonna let it dry out a little bit. That's pretty much it. Just gonna keep on plugging away at it, cleaning culverts so that they're not plugged up.
How about the equipment? You've been spending a lot of time working on equipment.
Equipment is all, we have everything back. I'm still waiting on bids for the backhoe, or estimates to have that remanned. Other than that, we have all trucks are up and running. Everything's,
You ready for snow? It's happened already, not here, but it's happened.
we're getting there. Yeah. Hopefully it holds off. I still have some, I want to get completed before it does come.
It's gonna be a while.
Is there any information on what's going on with Wyndham Hill Road?
Say that again. I'm
Any
sorry.
information on what's going on with Wyndham Hill Road?
So, he's been sending me an update every week. They're pretty much gonna be closed. The road is pretty much closed every day, from 8 to 4. Now until the first freeze, I guess, is what they said, and then they'll be done digging for the year.
Is that West Hill or Wyndham Hill?
West Hill.
Oh, okay. You were
You
saying.
said wouldn't.
Wyndham Hill, yeah.
Yeah.
We received a correspondence from somebody that lives on the road about. Talking about-
I was in contact with the towing company. Apparently the truck didn't have insurance. So,
Cool.
Wow.
I have some shoulder repair. I just contacted a company today about repairing the guardrail. They're supposed to send me an estimate, and just playing the waiting game.
So none of that stuff got cleaned up down over? Ooh, somebody's having an awful bill. Okay. If anybody else have any
Now, with
questions?
West Hill, you said they're gonna work on it until freeze up. It's like, they could work on that the way they're going until 2025. It's like, I've been on it, Jer, every day, and I've been calling Green Mountain Power every morning, and it's like, you know, you close the road, it's dirty pool to close the road at 8 o'clock, and there's not a person working at 8 o'clock.
Or this morning at 7:45.
Well, I was there at 8 o'clock this morning until 8:15 and was on the phone with Tim.
I was there at 7:45, stopped because it was closed. And I was like, it's not 8 o'clock yet!
You know,
They let me through, but same sort of thing. There is one spot where, it's right where, I think Barber Road, on the right, if you're going,
Culvert, you're talking about the culvert.
yeah.
Well, it was my intention to fix that, but it's kind of almost impossible to get out there right now.
Oh, for sure.
So,
Yeah. It's getting better though. It is getting better.
what
I
is,
mean, was there any discussion with Green Mountain Power on a deadline? When they had to be off the road?
I talked with Tim the other day, and he said that they were hoping to be done, hit the town line on November 17th, or by November 17th. And then going from there to doing aerial work, not groundwork.
I've heard so many mixed things.
I've heard the same thing, it's gone back and forth.
Underground at Otto's house, and then go aerial the rest of the way, but I don't know, I can't get a straight answer out of anybody.
Could just say stop working in the road until you get it figured out.
It would be nice. I mean, can I tell them that?
We're the commissioners of the road, so, I mean, I would hold off for a minute and we'll have a conversation about it.
Okay, is there anything else? We'll move on. All right, treasurer's report. Now it says on our M&T Bank says that there's $974,221.66 in the account, and $30,000 in the checking account. Our working true balance is $255,700. That's what we have to work with. And I think there's no, okay. And then there's two of them for the town clerk. $802 on the first one from September 16th to the 30th. And then October 1st to the 15th was $898. Then you'll have in your packet the breakdown of insurance claims that we get every quarter, I believe it is, and what they've covered, what we've had to pay, and so on. So that's the our insurance company. Common use, well, hang on. Town clerk, claims thing is taken care of. Stone Arch Bridge, town hall use policy, that's going to be worked on or continually worked on at a later date. Dam Supplemental Agreement, we got this thing last time and with no real background to it. It is something that is a regular issue from what I've been able to find out. Connie put together a folder with the documents that relate to it. It's just something we'll have to sign off on to move, to be able to use the top of the dam for transit. Alrighty. Boardman family letters. Katie, would you just read the first one, please?
Sure. We're sending these letters to the Boardman family. That would be Thomas Boardman, Noel Boardman, and Catherine Boardman. On behalf of the residents of Townsend, we, the Select Board, would like to take this opportunity to again thank you for your generosity in deeding the common to the town of Townsend. Your action demonstrates a true commitment to Townsend. The residents of Townsend can now look forward to many years of enjoyment on the common, knowing it is secure for the future.
And they're just the three, and they're in there for site signatures. Okay. SeVEDS. And since you're not a familiar face here, I'm assuming that's what you're here for.
Indeed.
What can we do for you?
Yes, hello. My name is Jack Spanierman. I'm here from the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. On the agenda we have Christy Petit, who couldn't make it tonight, so I'm here on behalf of the organization.
She made it.
Yeah, she
abandoned ship.
Yes, she had some stuff to do, so I'm here instead. So yes, I'm from the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, and we are here on our annual, jaunt around the Windham region for municipal funding requests. And I have hard copies of the funding requests that y'all should have received. They also have hard copies of our annual report, and as well as some other stuff. So anyway, I'll get right into it. But I'm trying to make it short and sweet. So the BDCC, the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, is one of 12 regional development corporations in the state of Vermont. And we handle all things economic development, kind of along with the ACCD, the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. And we serve all of Windham County, plus 3 towns in Bennington County and 1 town in Windsor County. And so SeVEDS it's an affiliate of ours. It's a separate organization, it's a separate entity. It has its own board, it has its own budget, but it does not have any staff. And And so what we do every year is we go around and make municipal funding requests for this SeVEDS organization. And the funding that helps provide the BDCC is to help fund our programs, and it can be and that funding can be flexible. So SeVEDS is kind of the concept and insight to the programs the BDCC are able to carry out. And so what I just mentioned, it's flexible, and it can also be used as matching funds for grants that help us carry out the work that you might see throughout our community. And I'll just point to a couple examples. In Townshend, you may have seen some hubbub at Leland and Gray just this past Thursday. That was our Pipelines and Pathways program, who Christy Petit is the program manager of. It was our reality fair, and it was really a chance for students from all over the county to come and participate in some financial literacy and some what we call adulting 101 activities to really kind of give them, a taste of what the real world is like after they graduate. And so that was a very popular event, and we were very proud of that. And so some other examples of the programs that the municipal funding through SeVEDS could help, sustain is so at the BDCC we have multiple kind of arms. We have more of a commercial, business services and business lending, as well as our programs which can vary from the P3, the Pipelines and Pathways program, as well as the Southern Vermont Economy Project. And I'm also supposed to thank the town of Townshend for providing this space for the Southern Vermont Economy Project, Southern Vermont Get On Board, that happened, the first class of which happened this past Saturday. And you were generous enough to lend this space to the first class, and that was a success as well. So thank you for that. And another program that this funding would help fund is our Welcoming Communities Initiative. The real gist there is to work to create a thriving, Southern Vermont economy, and helping employers welcome new Vermonters, refugees, asylum seekers, and helping a little bit with case management and just helping that, go smoothly. As well as the Southern Vermont Young Professionals Program, which is a networking and professional development program for our Southern Vermont young professionals. So in our 20-somethings to 40-somethings, and really the idea there is to protect the young professionals that are here and attract some more, because we all know that we very much need that. So I think that about wraps it up. Like I said, I try to keep it short and sweet. I have some hard copies of our Autumn Town Bulletin, as well as the actual funding request letter that we sent out, I believe, this over the past summer, and a little overview, kind of bullet list of our program. So I will get that to anyone who would like it, and I would like to thank the Select Board for this opportunity.
In past years that you've come right around this time, we referred you to the Social Services Committee. That's the group that you need to interact with for this type of thing. They are given an amount of money basically to put into projects, and they sort out which ones. So it's not really as formal as it sounds. It's just they're the ones that do the work to report back to the town when funding requests come in. So I don't know who the chairman of that committee is right now. It's kind of in flux, but when Connie comes back, you can reach out to her to be put in contact with the Social Services Committee.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions?
And I actually had one more additional comment that I meant to say. So part of the Southern Vermont Economy Project is they do some work with municipalities and towns through their community facilities program with the USDA Rural Development. And I was told that if the select board, if the town of Townsend needs any advice or help with the gazebo project, to reach out to my colleagues there for any advice and help. So, thank you.
I mean, as somebody who's worked at Leland and Gray for years, the work that you guys put on through the reality fair is just awesome. We've always talked about how after the actual reality fair for the students, how amazing it would be if there could be a community reality fair. Because everybody, all the adults, after being a part of it to support the students, were like, I really need this. So they're, they give out like sample budgets and how would you break down your budget of what are you going to spend on food, like what are you going to do on this, and just so many other intricate things that we sometimes forget to spend time on as adults. So it's awesome. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. That's all that's on the regular agenda. We do have a thank you note. Katie and I went to Dick Jackson's retirement, or not retirement, 100th birthday retirement. He's still walking. And we presented him the letter that you all signed from the board. He sent us a letter of thanks, and I'll have Katie read it.
It has been a great pleasure to work with the folks in Townsend. We all share in helping to make our community a fine place to live. Thank you for taking your time to pay tribute to me. I have enjoyed being part of Townsend. Thank you for what you do. All the best to you and yours, Dick Jackson.
Happy birthday. 100 years.
100 years old.
Happy birthday, Dick.
And he'd still be working if he could. Okay. We have no executive session tonight. Next meeting is November 7th at 6. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye.